Welcome to Your Pathway to the Emirates, our new podcast channel. Here we will explore exciting real estate opportunities across Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and other Emirates in the UAE. Beyond property, we'll also delve into important topics to support anyone considering a move to the UAE, covering schools, tax, visas, company setup, relocation, and lifestyle. Our goal is to provide a comprehensive, one-stop guide that helps you navigate every step of relocation or investment in this dynamic region. Stay tuned for insights that will empower your journey. So let's get started. So welcome back to our podcast. Today we have Lisa and... hello, Lisa.
Hi. Thanks, Jopesh. Great to be back.
And I think today we'll cover the sort of the parts that we should cover is the do's and don'ts of being in UAE. I mean, considering that when you're on the airport and the airplane, they used to hand out leaflets before, and that's not happening for the last 20 years, I think.
Yeah.
So, for example, in Singapore, it's still about the chewing gum.
Yes.
So it's really to understand, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. So where should we start? What is allowed and what isn't allowed, basically, in Dubai, for example? Because Dubai we'll start with, and then we'll say if there's any differences between Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
Okay. All right. So Dubai, look, back in 2003, there were a lot more don'ts than there are at the moment. Certain malls, or actually all the malls, you couldn't go in, with your shoulders open and in a pair of shorts. Okay. Now you'll see people in the malls looking like they're going to the beach. Okay. So things have evolved over the last 22 years. So there's not so many things like that anymore. Obviously public displays of affection, that's a big one. You can't be all over somebody in public, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
But a hug is okay.
A hug is okay.
Okay.
I go to a lot of events and know a lot of people, and it's always a hug and a hello, and that's allowed. But and a lot of people, you see people now walking down the street holding hands like a couple, and that's fine. Even some, like two men will be holding hands. Not certain cultures do hold hands, and
That's right.
And
that's in
allowed.
India and Pakistan, I think it's just the brother thing.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, and that's exactly, and that's fine, But full on public displays of affection. I mean, as much as the rest of the world is quite open to it, I think here you just got to be a bit more mindful. You are a guest in this country after all, and even though there's a lot more expats than locals, I still think there's got to be some level of respect to what the UAE and Dubai is all about, and just maintaining that level of respect. There's certain malls that I will never go into with shorts, in certain, communities like Jumeirah. There's some malls in Jumeirah that I would just feel uncomfortable because there's a lot of covered up ladies that go in there.
Yeah.
So me going in shorts and a stringy top, it just doesn't feel right to me for a start. And I think it's slightly disrespectful in that regard,
No, I think probably Dubai Hills is probably the same because it's more local, but that's more about respect and etiquette. And etiquette's the thing as well. So yeah,
correct. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's just obviously, what else was there? Yeah, it was really like the public displays of affection and things like that were a big thing in the past, and it's still something to just be mindful of. But yeah,
and obviously drinking you can't do in public. It has to be in restaurants, hotels, which are licensed.
Bar. Yeah, that's correct. In your house, they've got a lot more open with the alcohol. You don't pay for your alcohol license anymore. You apply for it, but you don't have to pay for it. And there's certain places that deliver alcohol to your door, at your home. So those kind of things are way different to when I first got here. And it's becoming more and more prevalent, and yeah, like you said, brunches, lunches, you can get alcohol all these places, but yeah, obviously not walking down the street with a beer in your hand. That's not acceptable at all. You will get.
And what about photography and video?
There are certain areas where you cannot take photographs. Obviously, in the communities where the sheikh lives and things like that, no photography is allowed. There's even signs up, and also if you cannot take photos of people, like locals, it's just not allowed, that kind of thing. Even taking photo of me, that's not really allowed unless you ask my permission, right? So that's just common courtesy. But yeah, you shouldn't be snapping shots of locals walking down the street. Look, if you're in a desert safari and there's somebody there with a camel and the falcon, and yes, you can have photos there, but just in normal day-to-day life, it's polite to ask, maybe have a photo together,
Yeah, I think
or
they're good like that. I mean, at the end of the day, even the social media, they're sort of clamping down on what you can and can't do. You need a license now, I believe, to do social media.
yes,
And
if you're an influencer type of thing.
mm, so
Yeah,
they're
I'm with
trying
you.
to clamp down on things like that to make it more, well, basically to get rid of the nonsense that we've grown into with social media and everything else, that we can do what we like, freedom of this, freedom of that. And then it goes into, well, if everyone's got the freedom, then no one's being protected anymore.
Correct.
So there needs a bit of a few lines maybe drawn, which is a good thing. I think it keeps everyone comfortable.
I agree with you. Yeah, because not everybody's comfortable with what everybody else is comfortable with. So if there's some rules in place, that's the best way to go
Hmm.
about it. And everybody just stays in their lane, and then, within the parameters of what's allowed and what's not. So
Yeah, I think there's nothing unreasonable. So it's basically just living a clean, decent life. Really, I think that's all they're expecting, and I think that's
exactly.
fair.
I agree with you. Just on that point though, obviously unmarried couples are allowed to live together now in Dubai, which for many years wasn't allowed.
Hmm.
So if you and your partner come over and you're not married, yes, you can live together and you can rent an apartment. Abu Dhabi is a little bit more strict on that front. Not all landlords are open to that. So I'd say Abu Dhabi is a little bit more, strict's not the right word for. I think you just got to be a bit more respectful in Abu Dhabi. It's
But
not
to
as
be
open.
honest, Abu Dhabi is the place where you go if you've got a family and you're married and
Yes,
you've got children. So the whole culture of that area
yes,
aligns with their rules, if you like.
yes.
So I
More
think
family
until
oriented.
that market changes, then I think they'll probably be more lenient than when they see the
Yes.
influx of maybe more couples coming in who aren't married. It's just not the place they want to live at the
Yes, and
moment.
because a lot
So
of locals own the properties in Abu Dhabi, where Dubai, it's a lot of Westerners and expats own properties here, except in certain communities where only locals can own. So
hmm.
there's that to it as well.
And obviously being drunk on the streets is not going to be permitted.
No,
Being loud and leery, all the things some people love, which I could never understand. Um, but I think that's obviously a good thing as well.
100%. Yeah, and you're not allowed to drink and drive here. There's zero tolerance.
Okay, that's how it should be. That's how it should
Yes,
be. I can never
I agree
understand
with
why,
you.
because everyone's body is different. So
Correct.
having any limit is a difficult thing to maintain. So it's better to have a zero tolerance.
Zero
And most
tolerance.
countries are like that anyway. It's just a few that aren't, like the UK.
And South Africa.
Okay,
I think they've gone. I think you can have one beer or one glass of wine, but I mean, let's be honest. If you do go out and you're out for a meal, if
why
you
have any?
share,
Yeah, why have any? Just have someone
if you're going to
responsible to
drive,
drive
yeah,
you
if
home
you're going to
with a
drive,
cab home.
100%, yeah. But look here, the thing is with Dubai, you can drive somewhere. For example, if I'm going to a brunch, I can drive to the brunch. I can have drinks and meal, like eat all afternoon, and then there's services. For example, there's a service called Zofa. There's somebody called Best Drive. You message them prior to your day out. You say to them, please, can you collect me at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever the time is that you want to be collected. They send their driver. That person drives your car home with you in it.
That's such a good idea. I heard
Isn't
about
it?
that. It's a really good
Yeah,
idea.
it's amazing. And it's like
Yeah.
costs 85 dirhams, and it's such a great service because the thing I hate the most is if you drive somewhere because you're not going to have a drink and then you decide to have a drink, you leave your car, you get a taxi home, then you have to taxi back the next day to get your car. So having somebody actually drive me home like a taxi service in my own car, parks it in my parking, and then gets collected by his company because they kind of follow in a smaller van or come and collect people
Hmm.
around post the delivery of me and my car to my house. It's an amazing service. I love it. It's
No,
fabulous.
that
Yeah,
was great when I heard that.
yeah.
So also as a company, you
Mm.
offer two sort of types of cultural training through your partners. There's both. Well, you can explain the two differences and what they are.
Okay. All right. So what we do is obviously based on what the requirement is. So, for example, if it's a company that's bringing in 10 new employees, or they just want to promote cultural awareness training within their company, and they'd like a bit of background on the UAE, especially if it's new employees, we have a wonderful local sponsor of our company, and he delivers an amazing Chatham House rules kind of cultural awareness training. So he does the whole history of the UAE, all the different clans, about the pearl diving, about the gold, about, everything from start to finish. And he also does, the dress and the different styles of wearing their kandura, or the headrest, the headscarf. It's not a particular style. You can choose your kind of style in a way, but he goes into all that kind of detail. And then he also delivers like business etiquette when you're dealing with locals, so true Emiratis. And, obviously here it's about building the relationship first, and people aren't always going to be on time. And this is something that, people need to be aware of sometimes, because, if you come from countries where everything works like clockwork, and you've set up a meeting at 2 o'clock and they roll in at 2:30, you can't be angry. This could be how it's going to be, and you build that relationship.
It's a cultural thing, yeah.
It's a cultural thing. And it's not that they plan to be late, but sometimes they're meeting with somebody else is overrun, and they're coming and they'll be here. Obviously, the local that I'm speaking of, he's always on time for some reason, but he's a professor as well. So I think, having classes and things, like, he's a bit more aligned with, the clock. But he delivers a great presentation, and it can be anything from 4 hours to a 6 hour presentation, obviously with breaks in between. But you can ask questions. He just gets everybody involved. It's really valuable, and I think it's great for companies if they're looking, if they've brought over new employees who aren't familiar with local etiquette when it comes to talking to locals. And
No, it's a good idea. Gets them comfortable, gets them
right.
understanding, increases productivity and everything, really, doing
Yeah,
something
so
like
if,
that.
if, if a company is looking for that kind of delivery, we obviously would recommend, Emma, that's his name. But I've also got a lady that I deal with called Emma, and she has her own consultancy, and she delivers a more how to, become culturally comfortable in a multicultural work environment. So most companies in Dubai have quite a diverse culture. So, for example, in our company, we've got people from the Philippines, we've got people from India, we've got people from Pakistan. I'm from South Africa. We've got some Irish people, we've got some guys from the UK. So there's a big mixed bag of people, and everybody's different. And at the end of the day, I'm quite used to different cultures from working at Emirates, because every day it would be a different mixed bag of people on the flight, that I'd be working with. But if people are just arriving and they're used to people only from the UK, even if they're from different ethnicities, but they're all UK minded people, and they know how it works in the UK, and they come to the UAE, and suddenly they're in an office with, somebody from, for example, India, where they do things slightly differently, or the Philippines, like they all eat their lunch together, for example, and it's not that they don't want you to join, but that's how they are, they're very community, and they all go and have their lunch at the same time, and they all sit in the pantry and have their lunch and, share, and it's just different. So it's getting used to that, and also just getting used to the way of people work. And Emma delivers a great presentation and, like a workshop on this kind of becoming culturally sensitive to other, you know, cultures, basically.
No,
So,
that's great. So it's good that you offer that service, because obviously
yeah,
it's a benefit to an individual, a family, or a business owner.
correct.
Um,
And
so
she's, like with, I'll give you an example. I've got a couple coming over soon from the UK. They're moving to Abu Dhabi. He's a lawyer. He's from the UK. She's from America. But I've gone with Emma for them because I feel like she would be a better fit for what they need, because obviously David will be the one that will be talking to different people, and, immersing himself in the business world where there's so many different cultures or, nationalities that he's going to be dealing with, that it's good to get used to that and become culturally sensitive and understand, those kind of concepts from the get-go. Whereas his wife, she's not going to be working, but finding her rhythm and her tribe within the community, where they're also going to be a lot of people from different backgrounds, So I've gone with Emma for them, but, I just felt it was going to be a better fit. So I can kind of judge from what they're looking to achieve by who I would obviously recommend, up to them who they would like to choose. But, yeah, happy to recommend either party
No,
for the.
that sounds
Yeah,
great. I mean, do they also train the children? Because
yeah,
obviously children have grown up in a different location, they have different ideas of what's right and wrong.
exactly. Yeah,
And
she does. She can do for the whole family. She can
okay,
do one individual. She can do a whole set of employees. Um, she's very flexible on and adaptable on what she can deliver. So she does. She does company presentation. She does individuals. She does families. Doesn't matter. Everybody can be on the same call. She usually does like an assessment, like an online assessment prior to the training, so she can obviously gear it towards exactly what their concerns are and what they're looking to achieve
hmm.
themselves.
Well,
Um,
that's excellent. I think so. We've covered the do's and don'ts. We've covered if you're a bit, you need to learn or you feel uncomfortable. You've got services to offer to help that side as well. So I think there's no reason not to move to Dubai and Abu Dhabi because you've got everything covered.
100%, 100%.
Excellent.
We've got you. Whoever's coming, we've got you, and we'd be happy to help with any aspect of your relocation. Yeah.
Again,
So
thank you again for that information,
you're very
and
welcome.
hopefully we'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you, Jalpesh. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Your Pathway to the Emirates podcast. We believe that by staying connected with our podcast and social media channels, you will gain valuable knowledge and stay abreast of the latest developments that may be of interest to you, whether you are an investor, enthusiast, or professional in the industry. Do drop us an email on info@elevation88.com if you wish us to cover any particular topics. So please follow, subscribe, and stay tuned for our upcoming episodes and updates as we continue to bring you engaging and informative content.